Welcome to the Effortless English Show with the world's #1 English teacher, AJ Hogue, where AJ's more than 40 million students worldwide finally learn English once and for all, without the boring textbooks, classrooms, and grammar drills. Here's AJ with a quick piece to help you learn to speak fluent English effortlessly.
I'm AJ Hogue, the author of Effortless English, Learn to Speak English Like a Native, and the father of the Effortless English system that trains you, that teaches you to speak English fluently, speak English powerfully, speak English effortlessly. When you join my VIP program at, over here, effortlessenglishclub.com, effortlessenglishclub.com. Commit, don't quit there. Interview today. Great. We're going to have an interview. I'm going to do a quick introduction and then we'll go. So the interview is with Sri Dharma Pravartaka Acharya. And just to make that short, I'll say Acharya Ji. Acharya Ji. And of course, this is our second interview with Acharya Ji, which is wonderful. Great to have him back. Now, just quickly, I just want to promote him. So he is a Dharma teacher, Sanatana Dharma teacher, spiritual teacher. Today, we are going to talk about the topic of meditation, how to meditate, why to meditate, and really anything he wants to talk about. I'm quite excited myself to hear his thoughts on meditation. Just recently on his YouTube, he had a nice video about meditation. His YouTube is Dharma Nation, all one word, Dharma Nation. So check out that YouTube channel and follow it. He's got a new BitChute channel also. And then, of course, his main website is dharmacentral.com. Dharmacentral.com. So check that out as well. Highly recommend it. You know, he's got some great books. I recommend is the first book to get Sanatana Dharma, The Eternal Natural Way. You can buy that. You can buy that on Amazon, but you can also buy it directly from his website, I believe. Dharmacentral.com. YouTube, Dharma Nation. Wonderful. I know the first interview we had with Acharya Ji was very popular. I got so many great comments about it and requests to have him come back. And so he's going to come back. He's going to be a regular guest as long as he's willing to do it. I'm happy to have him come back, like once a month and talk about different topics. So he has an open invitation to do that. All right, so let's just get to it. I'm going to call him up and we're going to start. Now, as usual, guys, this time, I know last time I didn't leave much time for you to ask questions. So this time I'll ask, a few questions of my own and, of course, just let him talk as much as he wants. But then hopefully this time, instead of me asking questions, I'll let you guys ask some and follow up after he discusses the main topic. So for those of you watching live, just relax for a while. I'm going to ignore your comments for a while, and then we'll come back to your comments and questions later. All right.
Very good. Namaste.
Namaste to you, and welcome back. So happy. I was just saying in the introduction how after our first interview, I got so many nice comments and so many kind of excited comments and requests to have you come back. And, I just want to give you an open invitation to come back, once a month, as much as you like, as much as you're willing to. Be happy to have you come back and so we can talk. I know we have so many topics we can talk about.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate that. And like I said last time, it's actually a pleasure doing this with you because you truly are a fantastic interviewer. I've been interviewed by many, many hundreds of people over the years. And yeah, you have a really fantastic style. So it's a pleasure to do this with you.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, let's jump right in. I think everyone knows who you are. So the topic is meditation. I guess my first question is just why? Why meditate? And then, of course, we can get into, how as well.
Mm-hmm. Sure, definitely. Well, that is a good logical place to begin. Why even do meditation? Because as we know, yes, meditation has become really popular. especially in the West in recent decades. Of course, in other places, it was always something of great importance throughout Asia and other regions throughout the world. Meditation was central, in fact, to many cultures and civilizations. But in the West specifically, that is Europe, the United States, etc., it has become extremely popular,
Yes.
to the point where you go anywhere on YouTube, there are thousands of videos and all sorts of things on how to meditate. And as far as why, for very good reason. We live in the most stressful period in probably the history of humanity. People are stressed, they have anxiety, they have tension, they have fears, they have worries that are horrific, that destroy people's health, that destroy people's mental health and well being. So, this is one reason to turn to meditation. It's funny, I gave a talk not too long ago where I made this joke and I said something like, you don't meet many sages or perfected yogis who are in a lot of anxiety.
Right.
If you want to meet the most peaceful people in the world, meet people who are serious meditators. And this is the reason why. This is the most immediate benefit that meditation gives us, is that, again, if we are suffering from anxiety, and again, who isn't? I'm sure 99.9% of the people in the audience would say, yes, that's me, I have anxiety. If you do have anxiety, tension, this is absolutely the best way to relieve that. So that's one reason to get into meditation, but that's just the most immediate. And interestingly, it's actually not even the most important, because any kind of meditation will relieve stress. But more importantly, the reason why we do meditation is for spiritual purposes. This is why meditation has existed historically, for spiritual purposes. And that is this: by periodically, let's say once a day for however long, half an hour or something like that, if a person does this sort of meditation in which they give their senses a rest from the outside world, and they close their eyes, they become peaceful, they go within, the very first thing that such a person will discover is that there's an entire world within us. In the same way that we can look around and we see an external world, well, when we sit and meditate, we begin to experience ourselves in a way that we never have before. When we relieve this tension, when we still the mind, we begin to experience our consciousness. And this is the thing that is amazing. This is what yoga philosophy teaches, what Sanatana Dharma teaches, is that it's not merely that we're beings who have consciousness. Like we have a left arm or a spleen or a nose. It's not that we have consciousness. Rather, what Sanatana Dharma teaches us is that we are consciousness. That is the true us. So it's when we go deep within in meditation that we begin to experience the true us spiritually. And then, of course, and we can go, I'm just giving you I'm trying to give you a very brief answer to your question. We can go into this much deeper. Ultimately, the reason why we meditate is to know God, is to know the absolute truth. That is the highest reason for doing meditation. And again, historically, what you've seen is all the great meditators, all the great yogis and rishis and saints and sages throughout history. This is why they meditated, to know themselves as consciousness and to know the supreme consciousness, to know God. So this is just a nutshell. The benefits of meditation are innumerable. There are many of them.
It's interesting. I've noticed something about, I guess, what I would call Dharma activities, or like an activity that is, let's say, in harmony with Dharma, is that they all seem to have this multi-layer benefit, like long term. So in other words, like meditation. So there's just a material benefit, physically, your body, less stress. There's a mental benefit that you mentioned, less anxiety. And then there's the spiritual benefit of, as you said, knowing yourself. And then there's this highest benefit of knowing God. And so it's like this, it just seems to reverberate through all these different levels. And I've noticed this about so many things, prayer as well, and other what I would call dharmic activities, that they seem to share this. In fact, I would say almost this is a way to identify if an activity is good and wholesome and in line with Dharma, is that it just seems to, you can find this sort of multi-level benefit from the most basic material to the very highest. And I don't know, do you find that as well? It just strikes me as you say that.
Absolutely. In fact, that's a very good observation. I've actually talked about this, and others have as well, that yes, this is something that is unique about the path of Dharma and yoga specifically. And the reason why I'm going to be mentioning yoga a lot with our interviews, yoga is the practical aspect of Dharma. Yoga is Dharma in action. So with yoga very specifically and meditation, yes, it's very true. When we do any of these practices, we are affected on every single level. Levels that we are aware of, levels we aren't even aware of. And in fact, this is one of the amazing benefits of the yoga system and of yoga philosophy and practice, is that it recognizes that we are multidimensional beings. It recognizes that, yes, we have a body, we have emotions, we have mind, intellect, we have our identity, but then ultimately we have our consciousness. And while ultimately we are the consciousness, we're not any of those other things, still we're using those things. And what is wonderful about dharmic practice is that, yes, it affects us on every level. It affects us. So for example, just to give a quick example, in addition to meditation, so many people are doing yoga today. People who do yoga immediately experience this. It affects you physically. It affects your breath. It affects you mentally. Again, you get rid of tension. Your mind becomes calm. It affects you on every level of your being, and that's what it's designed to do. Because again, the ancient yogis were very wise. They realized that if we are going to perfect ourselves, and that's a word that I don't shy away from, if we're going to perfect ourselves, that means all of ourselves. That means health-wise, physically, that means mentally, emotionally, spiritually, etc. So yes, these practices affect us on multiple levels, and that's true for meditation as well. Just to give some obvious examples, when you meditate, see, what do people envision when they think of a meditator? They envision someone sitting there very quietly, probably in a lotus pose, etc., and they would be correct. That's basically what a meditator would look like. But they envision someone not moving. But interestingly, when you do meditation, you benefit yourself not just mentally, not just inwardly, as I was saying before, but interestingly, even your physical health becomes better.
Yeah.
Even your physical health. And the reason why is because today, especially, like I was saying, what is one of the biggest problems that people have? Stress. And that affects us physically as well. We become ill because of stress. People will have all sorts of illnesses, from cancer to heart disease to just all sorts of physical ailments because of stress. Well, when you meditate, that stress goes away. So even physically, you become healthier. So yes, meditation affects us on every level, and this is what is amazing about meditation, yoga, and Dharma.
Excellent. Well, I guess we should get into then the how, because I guess maybe the what and the how, because I think there are a lot of ideas about what meditation is. That we have guided meditation, where people are sort of imagining all kinds of things, and especially in kind of the New Age movement, you'll see this kind of thing a lot. So when you're talking about meditation, can you kind of describe, what is it you mean? Like, what are we actually doing? Externally, you look and you see, like, yeah, you're sitting with the cross-legged still, but what's happening internally? Like, how do we do it exactly? What is going on?
Sure, absolutely. Yes, I can definitely talk about this. And let me just say that, yes, it's unfortunate that, again, like we were talking about last time, this is one of the benefits, but also the curses of the internet. That we are bombarded by information, and some of it is accurate, a lot of it is not. And that includes on the topics of meditation, of spirituality, of Dharma, of so many different things. So yes, there's a lot of information out there, especially on meditation, that is absolutely inaccurate and absolutely wrong. Now, before I even explain how, let me explain why I can say that and why I'm going to be presenting what is actual meditation. Very simply, if we want to know what real, and then fill in the blank, is, if we want to know what is real spirituality, real meditation, real yoga, etc., very simply what we need to do is look at the origins. In other words, not look at modern writers, modern speakers, etc. Maybe a little bit. But more than anything, we have to make sure that the information that we have is coming from the most ancient sources. That's how we know it's legitimate. That's how we know it's authentic, it's real, and it's truly going to help us. So that being said, let me talk a little bit about what meditation actually is, what it actually isn't. So again, there are many different claims and techniques. Yes, do this, do that, and this is meditation. Meditation, interestingly, is actually pretty simple to understand, but very hard for most people to do. And I need to be very straight with people about this. I don't mince words. Meditation is not easy. And anyone who claims that it is, no, don't trust that person. That person is trying to not tell you the truth somehow. Meditation is a challenge, like anything of importance. Let's say you're a 90-pound weakling and you want to go to being a very muscular person. Let's say you want to go from a high school diploma to a PhD. Anything that is worth having takes effort, work, discipline, etc. This is true for meditation as well. Now, that being said, very simply, in the most generic way of explaining this, what meditation is fully focused awareness and concentration upon one object with nothing else interfering with that full focus and concentration. That's meditation in the most generic nutshell. All right. But now we have to go a little bit deeper because, of course, the next logical question would be, well, on an object, okay, what object? Does the object matter? And this also is something crucial where, again, a lot of more spiritual teachers will say, oh, the object doesn't matter. Pick whatever object you want, No, the object that you're focusing on does matter. And this is the reason why. You become like that upon which you meditate. You become like that upon which you meditate. In other words, whatever you're going to focus on, that's going to have an influence on you. So this is why it's crucial. What is the object of your meditation? And if someone says, oh, it doesn't matter, pick anything, no, then they know nothing about meditation. If you're going to pick something that's negative, that's dark, that's evil, etc., well, what are you doing? You are focusing your awareness on this and thus bringing it into your awareness and becoming influenced by that thing. Well, that's why we want to make sure that what we're focusing on is of the nature of absolute good, of absolute light, of absolute truth, etc. In other words, God. God should be the object of meditation. So this is something that's very crucial. So now we're going a little deeper. Meditation is full focused awareness upon an object. That object should be the highest object, and that is God, the supreme absolute. And, I make this joke sometimes. I tell people, well, do you want to meditate on, that which is 80% the best, 90%, 15%? No, meditate on the greatest. Meditate on the absolute. Meditate on God. And why settle for anything less? So this is what meditation is in the smallest nutshell. Now, did you want me to go into the actual practice? What meditation?
Yes, please. Yes. Like how would you do it? Like someone who's never meditated before, they want to sit down and actually do it. What would they do?
Okay, I'll explain this to people. It'll take just a little bit of depth.
Sure.
But I'll explain exactly how do you meditate. And again, what I'm explaining, this comes from the Vedic scriptures. This is not something that someone came up with 30 years ago or that I came up with or this best-selling book. No. All that aside, this is how you meditate in accordance with the most ancient scriptures on earth, the Vedic scriptures. So, first of all, in order to meditate, one needs to find a very nice, quiet, clean place in order to meditate. Again, we're being very practical here. There are some people, for example, like, I've known people, I'm from New York City. I've seen people where they're sitting on a subway car and they're sitting there kind of cross-legged, and I get onto the car and I'll see this person and they're sitting there with their eyes closed and they're pretending to meditate with all the noise going on and everything.
Yeah.
And no, that's someone who's trying to make a nice little show. That's not how you meditate. You purposefully want to use, let's say, every tool that you can to make the meditation experience optimal. So you find a place that's quiet. Let's say if you have a house, whatever's the quietest room in the house. If you can even go into nature, if the weather is nice, that's even better. Do that. But find a quiet place, a place where you're not going to be disturbed. Leave your cell phone far away from you.
Yeah.
Places like that. The next thing you want to do is sit there. Now, if you can, certainly if you can sit on the ground in any variation of, let's say, a cross-legged sort of way, but it should be comfortable, you do that. Let's say you can't. You have problems with your knees or something. That's fine. Then sit in a chair. Just sit in a normal chair with a nice back. That's all right. That's of less importance. It's less important how you look when you're meditating than what you're actually doing, so don't worry about that. But you sit in a comfortable way. You want your back to be straight. Very important for several reasons. First, if your back is nice and straight, and my back is always straight, because I'm a yogi, I trained myself to be like this 40 years ago. If your back is straight, you're not going to fall asleep, number one. Number two, and this is getting a little technical, it helps the energies in the spine to flow in a very free sort of way, which you want. It helps with circulation. The circulation is flowing nicely. If you're slumped over like this, your circulation is not going to be working very well. So you want to be sitting in a nice straight way, and this is the most important thing physically, comfortably so. In other words, you do want to be comfortable. If you're sitting in a way where you think you're imitating a yogi or you look like a statue of the Buddha, but you're very uncomfortable, meditating. Because instead of focusing on the meditation, what are you going to be focusing on? Oh, my knees hurt. Oh, my back hurts. No. Make yourself comfortable, but at the same time, sit, again, in an attentive sort of way. All right. So that's all just as far as physically how we sit, etc., and our environment. Now, the next thing is this. You certainly want to close your eyes. And this is one of the most immediate goals, is that we're trying to withdraw the senses, On a day-to-day basis, our senses are always active. We're always looking and hearing and smelling. Now we're trying to do the opposite. We're trying to give the senses a rest. So, of course, you close your eyes. You make sure that there aren't sounds or anything to disturb you. So you kind of rest the senses for a little while. And now that you're in this sort of situation, now you can begin the actual meditation. Now, let me go into what this will look like a little bit specifically when you're actually doing the meditating. And I'll explain what is the oldest and the most prevalent form of meditation. This is the meditation that I do.
Okay.
It's called mantra meditation, where you focus on a mantra. And I'm sure everyone, at least most people have heard this. People know what a mantra is. But I'll go more in depth into that in a second. To do mantra meditation, very simply, there are 3 steps. Number 1, you focus on breath for a few minutes. With your eyes closed, sitting there, just in silence. First, you take all of your awareness and you focus on breathing. You focus on, literally, how does the breath feel when it's coming into me and filling me? How does it feel when it leaves? Can I even hear the sound of my own breath? You just focus all of your awareness on breath. You do that for a few minutes. It can be anywhere from, let's say, 2 to 5 minutes. The reason why you begin with this is what this does is it relaxes you. It relaxes the body, relaxes the shoulders, it relaxes the mind, most importantly. It makes the mind become still and calm. So first you begin with that. Next, you do the actual mantra. And again, we'll talk about that more in depth in a minute. But you do mantra meditation, where out loud you say a mantra and you repeat the mantra. And in the same way that you were focusing on breath, now you focus on the mantra, on the sound. After you do that for some time, and the time can vary, let's say 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Then you end the meditation by, you stop saying the mantra, and again you focus on breath for a few minutes. And after a few minutes of breath concentration, the meditation is over. You gently open your eyes, and look around, and you gently get up and you proceed with your day. So that's what meditation looks like. But now we have to explain mantra.
Yes.
So do you want me to go into that a little bit?
Please, yes, exactly. Because, there again, people can go out there and find, anything like all kinds of crazy stuff, like, chanting, I want money, that kind of stuff. So what is an authentic mantra that, as you said, that leads to that highest focus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, certainly. And there is an entire science of mantra. Before a person even attempts this sort of meditation that I just explained, they should understand what is the nature of mantra. First of all, a mantra is a sound vibration that we focus our awareness on in meditation. That's what a mantra is. And you can say it either out loud, you can say it in your mind and focus in your mind. There are a variety of ways of saying the mantra. But this is something that's very important. Again, this is something that, let's say, more new age people who really know nothing about spirituality, especially authentic spirituality, but they'll still talk anyway. This is something that they'll say is that, oh, it doesn't matter what the mantra is. You can literally make something up. Yes, quite literally. There are people who will use as their mantra, I want money, They'll say something like that and they think that they're doing a mantra.
Yeah.
No, a mantra is not just anything that you just repeat to yourself. That is not what a mantra is. Rather, the way that you know a real mantra, an authentic one versus something that's not, is a mantra, number one, is something that is revealed in the scriptures. In other words, its source is important. It can't be something that, Joe Schmo made up a year ago. No, it has to be revealed in the Vedic scriptures. That's number one. Number two, all mantras that are used for God realization, they have the names of God in them. And there are unlimited names of God in the Sanskrit language. This is something that's also crucial. So any serious yogi who is using a mantra, that mantra will have one or another of the names of God within the mantra itself. So the reason why this is important is because, remember what I said a little while ago, that we become like that upon which we meditate. We become influenced by whatever we meditate on. So if we meditate on, again, some nonsensical thing, well, we'll have a nonsensical result to our meditation. But imagine if we are meditating, if we are focusing our awareness upon the sacred and eternal name of God. Imagine the effect that will have on us internally. That is the purifying power, the clarifying power, the power of bringing the goodness and all the attributes of God within us in such a way that we become cleansed, we become healthier as a result, etc. In other words, imagine if we can quite literally experience the presence of God there within us and the effect that will have on our internal being. So that's why we meditate on the mantra that has the name of God. And let me explain also this aspect of the name of God as a meditational object in this way as well. This is how we can understand the power of God's name and how it's different from other words. Everything has a name. Everything has a name. You have a name. I have a name. Any object that we can look at has a name. But the thing is, those names are arbitrary. Your name could have been something else. You could have been Peter. I could have been John. Names are arbitrary. They don't point to the essence of who we are. This thing is called cup in English. What is it called in Spanish? What is it called in Russian? What is it called in Arabic? It's arbitrary. But this is the thing. Everything has been given a name at one point. I was given a name when I was born. You were given a name when you were born. But this is the question that I always ask people. Now, God, being eternal, having never been born, having never come into being, when was God given his name? You see, God's name is not arbitrary. God's name is not something that, a billion years ago, someone gave God this name. No. God's name is not arbitrary, unlike anything else. So, like God, God's name is also co-eternal. God's name shares in the essence, in the power of God. So this is why when we meditate upon the names of God, God is present. Because the name of God and God are non-different. Again, my name and me, they're different. I don't need to have my name. It could have been something else. I can legally change my name. But God and God's name are synonymous. They're the same. God's name reveals the essence of God. So imagine the power of this, the spiritual power, that I am meditating on a word, on a sound that's not like cup or Coca-Cola or Frank or Bill or this or that. No. I am meditating on a word that contains within it the very essence of God, because it's not different from God. Imagine the power of that. And when I say power, of course, I don't mean power to dominate. I mean the purifying power, the goodness of this, to meditate upon such a thing. So all that being said, these are true mantras. Mantras that A, are revealed in the scriptures and not just made up, and B, they have the names of God within them. These are the mantras that for thousands upon thousands of years the yogis have meditated upon. These are true mantras, and they're the only true mantras. Again, not something that's made up. So getting back to the actual practice, that first you focus on breath for just a few minutes, then you do the mantra, you say the mantra, you focus on that, and then you end the meditation by again focusing on breath. Now, getting to that mantra portion in the center, this is where we take one of these authentic, legitimate mantras that are the names of God, and we meditate upon that. Now, again, this is what's so rich about Vedic culture. There isn't just one name of God, because each of the names of God reveal one aspect of God. And this is God. How many different aspects are there of God? Infinite. So there are many names of God that are revealed in the Vedic scriptures. And some of these people know and have heard of. Maybe some people have not heard. So the most basic one is very simple. AUM, which is pronounced Om. This is a mantra everyone has heard about. And people may not even be Vedic, but they've tried maybe meditating on this mantra. This is the most basic mantra, and it is one of the names of God, actually. In fact, more Om, this AUM, and it's AUM, it's not OM. Sometimes it's spelled that way. That's incorrect. It's AUM. Om. This is the sound representation of God's omnipresence. In other words, the way God is present within all of reality. If we could hear God present in anything, what we would hear is Om. That's literally what we would hear. If we could hear God inside this cup, if we could hear God inside our own bodies, if we could hear God in every atom, that's what we would hear. So as a result, this is one mantra. But then again, there are others. The one that I do specifically, as you know, is what is called the Narayana mantra. And it also contains Om, but it's Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Narayanaya. This is another mantra that is found in the Vedic scriptures. And it's a very important one. It's the one that I meditate upon. And if you wanted to translate it, you could say that it is saying, I offer my respects, my obeisances to that absolute who is the sustainer of all beings. That would be the translation. That's how I've translated it from the Sanskrit. But that's another mantra. And there are many, many mantras like this.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So does that
wonderful. Yeah, so this is also an act of humility. You're bowing to God with that mantra.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's devotional. It's a devotional mantra. This is also another very important element of meditation that we could go into very deeply, actually, is devotion. You know, it's interesting. Actually, it's very interesting. Just like 2 hours ago, I had a student here, and I was explaining this to her as well. How even with meditation, we tend very often in especially the Western world, in modern times. We tend to think of meditation in a somewhat selfish way. Oh, meditation is a tool that will help me.
Yeah.
Well, it's true. Of course, meditation is going to help us. Without doubt, it's going to help us. But a higher way of seeing the purpose of meditation is that it is an expression of devotion to God. In other words, it's not merely that, oh, let me see how meditation can help me. But no, it's a way of exhibiting selfless self-surrender and humility and devotion toward God. It's a way of showing love toward God. So this is another reason to do meditation, is that we're literally communing with God, with that being who, you see, many people know this even intuitively, what I'm about to say, but the Vedic scriptures talk about this in depth. Where is God? Where is God? God is everywhere, but God also is here within us. You know, God is within our heart. And this is the thing that is amazing. What is God? Oh, that can be, I can answer that in many philosophical ways, but let me answer this in a very simple way. What is God? God is our best friend. God is our friend who is lying within our heart, who is there with us at all times, and who is there as a silent, loving witness to everything we experience, good and bad. You know, God sees us at our best. God sees us at our worst, at times when we don't even want to see ourselves. We don't even want to look in a mirror, but God is there, witnessing and being there as our friend, just waiting for us to know that he's there. And this is ultimately why we meditate. We meditate, yes, to get rid of stress, yes, to get rid of tension, have clarity of mind, have health. Yes, we meditate to know ourselves very well, to know who we truly are, but ultimately, we meditate to know that person who is our best friend and who is there with us constantly within our heart and who never leaves us, who never abandons us. Imagine that was such an amazing friend. We meditate to know that friend. We meditate to know this person and to communicate with this person. Imagine the love of someone who is there with us at all times. We all have best friends, right? You know, everyone has a best friend. But do we have a best friend who loves us so much that they are literally willing to be with us 24 hours a day and lifetime after lifetime after lifetime? And again, experiencing us at our best and our worst. Nobody has a friend that good except for God. So imagine, this is ultimately why we meditate. How can we not want to know such a friend who loves us so dearly? We should be willing to do anything to know such a friend. That's why ultimately we meditate.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'm going to go now to I promised that this time I would go to our viewers, and because they always have quite good questions and comments. So and I know they've been typing furiously while you've been talking. Okay, well, Alexi here has a question. What's the best schedule of doing meditation? Before our main day activity or after? When, so very practical. Whoa.
Yes. Yeah, that is a very good practical question. The best time for meditation and any spiritual practice, if it can be done, is in the morning. It should be one of the first things that we do. And that for several reasons. First of all, it's very nice to just start your day off good, start your day off in a wonderful way. The other thing is mornings tend to be the most spiritual time of the day. It tends to be more quiet. It's when everyone is waking up. I mean, anybody who wakes up early in the morning, you can feel it. You can feel how peaceful things are, and the sun is rising, and everything's becoming reinvigorated, re-energized. So the morning is a very nice time to do meditation. Of course, if a person can't, for whatever scheduling reason, then any time is good. But if you can, in the morning.
Wonderful. Actually, Alexi, with kind of a follow-up comment, but quite an interesting one. Meditation is a powerful weapon against a lot of problems people have throughout life. We're surrounded by violence, fake news, etc. To make our brain clear, meditation must be part of our life. And I think this kind of connects. We're doing a book club. We're learning Brave New World. And then we just started a movie club, and we're watching The Matrix. So we're quite into this theme of illusion and mind control and propaganda. And and it can be a little depressing, as we see how prevalent it is. And so a constant comment and question is, how do we see through this? How do we clear our minds of all this and see truth? How do we figure that out? And do you agree that meditation is actually, this is another benefit, and that it's a powerful tool for this?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And first of all, very good book and very good movie that you're studying. Yeah. I love them both, actually. Yeah, I like Aldous Huxley quite a bit. Brave New World is a classic, and The Matrix, the first movie at least of the trilogy.
Yeah, we're just doing the first. Yes.
Yeah, it is absolutely an amazing film. I love that film. I don't want to tell you how many times I've seen it. But yes, this is indeed another extremely important tool that we have in order to awaken ourselves and in order to be able to see clearly exactly what is happening around us. Yes, we know, and you talk about this a lot with all of your students. You try to wake them up. You explain to them that, yeah, it's unfortunate. We live in a world of lies. The media, mainstream media, is 100% propaganda.
Yeah.
It's 100%. And I'm always very clear about this. It's not 99% propaganda. It's 100% propaganda. Even the sitcoms, even the comedies, even the movies, all of it is propaganda in one way or another if you analyze it well enough. The educational system exists in order to brainwash us, and on and on and on. So, yes, people know that this is the case. And what is the purpose of all of this brainwashing that happens, of all these messages that they try to put into our minds? It's to put us to sleep. It's to make us blind to what is actually happening in the world. Well, meditation does the opposite. Meditation awakens us. It gives us clarity of mind. It gives us clarity of vision. It makes our intellects work in a sharper sort of way, so we can discern what is true, what is not true. In fact, it's interesting, the Bhagavad Gita, right at the very beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna and Arjuna begin speaking about this, about what does it mean to be a wise person, that you have discernment. You can know what is true and not true, and you can see the difference between the two. And then, of course, embrace truth, reject untruth. This is one of the main messages of the Bhagavad Gita. And meditation is the number one tool that we can use in order to help us to free ourselves from this brainwashing system. In fact, again, it's interesting that, like I mentioned, I had a student here just a few hours ago, and we even discussed this, where we were talking very deeply about meditation, and we were also talking along the lines of, yes, liberating ourselves and liberating other people from the brainwashing tools that are out there. And I said to my student, envision, if you can, people who are serious meditators and who indeed awaken themselves. And imagine such people becoming awoken and being able to discern what is true, what is not true. And imagine a veritable, figuratively speaking, army of such people going out there into the world and waking up others.
Yes, indeed.
That's my goal.
Yes.
And I know that's your goal too.
Indeed.
That's the goal of any good person.
Yeah.
That, yes, let's wake ourselves up. And then with our eyes truly open, go out there into the world and help others to become deprogrammed from this brainwashing that they've had to go through for all of their lives. So yes, meditation is the most powerful tool that a person can use. If you want to wake up to what is reality, meditation is what you do.
Excellent. I agree completely. Wonderful. Okay, Giovanni Baresi, Italian, I think. I've got a question. Does meditation heal you from depression? Because I've lately been doing meditation. I'm feeling much better without much pain, fears, or worries. So again, this is more on the mental level.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and certainly, it certainly does. It certainly does help. Of course, like with anything, it's only guaranteed to help in accordance with how much time you give it, how much you practice it, etc. So, I don't want to pretend that I'm an MD and prescribe meditation for people with depression. But at the same time, I can certainly say that, yes, if you practice meditation seriously, yeah, you will get over your depression. Absolutely. Because why ultimately, and without going too deeply, which, I can, but why ultimately are people depressed? It's because, in a way, they're divorced from reality. It's because they think terrible things about themselves. They think terrible things about the world around them. They become hopeless. They're black-pilled, to
Right.
use a modernism. They're black-pilled. They just look around them and, oh, it's all horrible. Well, that's not reality. It may be a subjective reality for them, but not everyone is seeing the world that way. And the world is not necessarily a terrible place. In fact, I see it as the opposite. I see it as a beautiful place that has some terrible things in it that need to be fixed practically, and which we're going to fix. But this is why people are depressed. And again, what meditation does is it gives us a firm grasp on reality. When we begin to see ourselves as eternal sparks of consciousness and our source as being God, who is the source of all good, and we realize that all the good that is there within God, we also possess to a limited degree, a finite degree. But our soul has no problems. Our soul is already perfect. Our consciousness already has all the wonderful things that we desire, all the truly good things that we desire. Our problem is that we're in illusion and we have forgotten that. What meditation does is it helps us to rid ourselves of the spiritual amnesia, of forgetting who we truly are. Oh, if there's anything that can help with depression, it's meditation, because this is exactly what it does. Who are we really? We are beings who are reflections of God. That means we have so much potential. That means we have so much goodness and beauty within us. But we have forgotten that. We have fallen into this illusion of, again, the brainwashing system, our own uncontrolled ego. We think we're not good. We think we're not worthy. We think we're not beautiful, etc. We fall into depression. What meditation does is helps us to re-embrace our true self and to realize, no, I am worthy. I am worthy to be a humble but empowered servant of God. And when we realize this, depression ceases to exist.
Wonderful. Well, this is Slavika has a very nice comment. Really feeling that God is always with me. God inspires me to be optimistic because I see God in everything. I'm not scared from the Matrix. I'm not scared of Brave New World because of this. So I guess, like you said, this idea that of goodness, but also maybe that you could just comment on courage, because like, as I said, as we've kind of been discussing and we've seen it. It's interesting because we've seen these parallels in both Brave New World and The Matrix, that the beginning stages of being red-pilled, of waking up, are very painful for most people. And it's quite common, like in the very early stages, this sense of confusion and fear, and then a kind of shock, and then maybe depression or anger. But then to keep going, as you said, like with as you go deeper into meditation, as you wake up more, that in fact it's a kind of power, like this courage, right? And can you talk a little bit about that in terms of meditation, or just in general in terms of Dharma?
Yes, definitely. First of all, let me say that last comment was beautiful.
Well, thank you.
That last comment, was absolutely wonderful. When that woman was saying that, yes, that she,
it's great, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah. And this is actually something very important to talk about. Yes, our biggest problem today is indeed fear. It's because of fear that people very often are, let's say, wary of venturing into any realm where, yes, it will be spiritual, or it makes you seem like a different sort of person, or you're thinking differently from the mainstream, etc. It's fear that keeps people from seeking truth.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is, yes, through meditation and spiritual practice, we lose this fear entirely. But at the same time, what you were saying is very true, that in the initial stages, when we're beginning our spiritual journey, there is a little bit of fear of the unknown that is there. And on the one hand, it's understandable. On the other hand, it's unnecessary. Of course, there's nothing to fear if you're going toward goodness, toward light, toward truth, you know. But it's interesting. What you were saying reminds me of this very famous simile that's found in the writings of Plato, specifically the simile of the cave.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, you've heard about this. It's very famous. And just very, very briefly, let me just, for those who don't know what this is about, let me tell people what this is. Yeah, the simile of the cave, it's in the writings of Plato, and he discusses this scenario. It's just made up, but it's meant to prove a point, where if you can envision that there are several people deep in a cave, very deep, to the point where it's practically pitch black dark, and they were born there. They've never known anything but the cave. They're all kind of in chains, and they're facing a wall in front of them, and all that they see in front of them are shadows. And this is all they've ever known. So they think that's reality, you know, and they're just kind of sitting there accepting, oh, yes, well, this is my world. Other beings are just shadows. This is what they look like. But then Plato writes, imagine if somehow someone were to come into that cave and they free one of these people. And they explain to the person, hey, you know what? Everything that you've seen all of your life, it's not real. There's a whole different world that contains beauty that you can't even imagine. Come with me. Let me show you. At first, that person who you freed from the chains, of course, at first they wouldn't believe you. Like, what are you talking about? This is all I've ever known. No, you're crazy. You're crazy. There's a different world, and no. But no, you coax them. You don't have to believe me. Come with me, and I'll show you. And maybe after some convincing, finally, they'll kind of come up the cave with you, and you ascend and ascend. But they're scared, and they're still doubtful and skeptical. And, well, okay, I guess I'll go with you, but I don't believe what you're telling me. And it gets to the point where they begin to experience this weird thing, light. They begin to see just little traces of it. And they start to realize, oh my God, there is something different. What is this? I've never experienced this before. And to make a long story short, you finally bring them to the surface and they see this world. But it's right before the dawn. It's still kind of dark. And they're already freaked out. But now the sun begins to rise. And now they see this thing, the sun, and now they can see everything clearly. And they realize, oh my God, this is reality. Oh, in the same way, that's what so many of us experience. But yes, you go first through that little bit of fear because you're experiencing something that you think you're not accustomed to. It seems new, but it's reality. So you mustn't fear. And this is why also, interestingly, in the Bhagavad Gita, you know, at the very end of the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 18, verse 66, Krishna says something absolutely amazing to Arjuna. You know, after 18 chapters of speaking and speaking and speaking the highest philosophy imaginable, Krishna finally says to Arjuna at the very end, and he says in Sanskrit, he says, Ma shuchaha, do not fear. Do not fear. And it's interesting how Krishna ends his instruction to Arjuna in this way. And I've always contemplated this. Why does Krishna end the Bhagavad Gita by saying that? It's because it's so important, because he understood that why do people have difficulty seriously following a spiritual path? It's because really they fear. They fear the unknown, and they fear leaving their chains, because their chains is all they've known. See, if all you've known are the chains that keep you bound, well, at least it's what you know. So to get rid of those chains and to realize, oh, I'm free now, it's scary. So yes, we are to not fear in any way whatsoever. And when we meditate, when we surrender to God, in time, that fear disappears. And you do indeed become abhaya, become fearless, absolutely fearless. That's why you want to meet the most fearless people in creation? Talk to the saints, talk to the sages, talk to those individuals who are liberated yogis. They do not know any fear of anything. They only know.
Wonderful. Okay, Cleefe's asking, and I know why he's asking this, because lately I've been doing all kinds of fasting. I've been fascinated with fasting. And so he's asking, what's the relation between, or is there a relation between fasting and meditation? And I guess we know from, historically, many, as you said, sages, rishis, prophets, from all different religions, you often see this connection. So can you speak about that a bit?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, definitely. Yeah, fasting is indeed a very important aspect of spirituality that you do find. You find this historically since the very beginning of time, and in so many different traditions. And I also used to do quite a bit of fasting, actually. I haven't recently, only because I just don't find it a necessity anymore. But in the past, I did do quite a bit of fasting. The longest I fasted was, I forget if it was 12 or 14 days on nothing but water.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, literally no fruit juice, no anything, just water. And that was like 30 years ago. That was quite a long time ago. Fasting is something that, if done intelligently, if done carefully, is something that can definitely benefit us spiritually. And again, it's interesting, like you were saying before, on many different levels. It helps us physically. It helps to give us more clarity of mind. Spiritually, it helps us. So not just in one way, in many ways, fasting can help us. And the reason why fasting is done is several things. First, for the immediate benefits, like I said, to purify ourselves, make ourselves feel better, etc. But also, often people will do a fast in a very systematic way as a vow. They'll take a vow of some sort that, all right, I'm doing my meditation, I'm doing all of my spiritual practice. Now, in order to deepen my surrender to God, I will take a vow that I will do a 3-day fast. And during that fast, I will, let's say, double my meditation upon God and truly focus on the idea of surrender to God. So you'll do it kind of as a vow, for a certain period of time and for a certain purpose. So yes, fasting is definitely something that is central to serious spiritual practice.
Yes.
Again, it's not meant for everyone, but anyone who wants to do serious spiritual practice, they often will do fasting. But again, it's important to be careful with it. If a person has never fasted before, you want to build up to fasting. So in other words, maybe try it for one day at first. At first, just say, okay, for the next 24 hours, no food. You do want to always drink water, however. There are some traditions where they even stop water. No, that's very dangerous. That's not recommended. You want to always drink water. You want to keep yourself hydrated. But if, let's say, you want to stop all foods for a 24-hour period, afterwards you'll feel wonderful. Of course, like with all spiritual practice, at the beginning it's tough. You're going to be hungry.
Yeah, you will. Yep.
It's going to be difficult. But by the time it's over, you're going to feel wonderful. And how you break your fast is very important. People, if you've been fasting for a few days, of course, the temptation is, all right, let me break my fast with a big meal. No. You want to break the fast slowly. You want to start with something very gentle on the system, like maybe some yogurt, something like that, or some pureed soup or something. And slowly, little by little, then get back to eating solid foods and then just your normal diet. But if you break a fast by just having some big, heavy meal, that's going to be
kind of a shock.
Believe me, you're going to have negated everything that you did with that fast.
Right.
So you want to break the fast slowly. Of course, always check with your doctor, because some people can't fast. They cannot for health reasons. And if that's the case, that's all right. Then do not fast if your doctor says that you shouldn't. But yes, it's definitely something that's very helpful.
Wonderful. All right, we got questions pouring in. Okay, no, this is a question about yoga from Dawei. Dawei says, I guess, what is the difference, or are they different? The difference of asanas of yoga while doing these exercises, is this also meditation? So doing the asanas are the positions of yoga, right? Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. So
right.
is that so in other words, is that physical form of what most people know as yoga, the kind of the popular physical yoga practices, is that a form of meditation, and if so, how?
Excellent question. That is a very good question, actually. And I'll answer that in this way. Yes, it is meant to be done meditatively. In other words, all of yoga, all the different aspects of yoga, including even the physical aspects, that is the asanas, the different postures that you go into, they are meant to deepen meditation, to help person deepen meditation, and they're also meant to be done meditatively. For myself, I have my own, very authentic form of yoga that I have taught others. I've certified teachers in this form of yoga that comes from the Upanishads, which is a Vedic scripture.
Oh, wow.
And what I always explain to people is that if you're doing yoga and you're not doing it in a meditative sort of way, that is with awareness, supreme awareness of everything that you're doing, you're not doing yoga. You might as well be doing jazzercise or aerobics or anything else. Then it's just purely physical. True yoga is the same as meditation. It's synonymous with meditation. So the idea is, yes, even as you're doing the physical aspects of yoga, you should do it in a meditative sort of way. This is a moving sort of yoga. It's a yoga in action. It's a very moving sort of yoga where you're in motion, but you're also meditating at the same time. So it's a type of moving meditation, meditation in action. Yeah, so that's the idea of doing actual yoga, is that you're doing it in a meditative way. Also, the reason why you do the asanas, interestingly, some people may not know this. People know that the asanas, the actual postures of yoga, they're very powerful, they're very healthy for you, etc. They make you very strong, very limber. A lot of people know, however, how the asanas originated. The reason why the original yogis did asanas, did the physical aspect, was to train their bodies so that they could sit for long periods of time in meditation. That's why they started doing yoga, is to make their bodies fit so they could sit for a long period of time, not get fatigued, not have their legs fall asleep, etc., and then do meditation. So yes, yoga and meditation, really, they're the same thing.
Excellent. Okay, so this is a question about a Buddhist question. Is it possible to see Buddha or bodhisattvas or other deities by meditation, not by imagination? So I guess really talking about having some kind of spiritual vision or awakening.
Good question. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. And of course, it depends on what you mean by see. I mean, you wouldn't see with the physical eye, but within, in the mind's eye, in what's technically called the Agya Chakra, the third eye, which exists both in Sanatana Dharma, but also in Buddhism, Jainism. They all recognize this idea of the third eye. Yes, when a person is doing meditation, you can indeed have visionary experiences of divine beings. And this includes the Buddha, this includes bodhisattvas, this includes what are called devas and devis, that is very advanced, very good beings, what sometimes in, let's say, Western religions are called angels. Yes, you can have experiences of all sorts of divine beings where they are real, not imaginary, because these beings are real. And yes, again, this is what another thing that separates me from, let's say, more fraudulent New Age sort of people. They'll tell you that, oh, yes, there are no gods and goddesses. These are all just psychological, etc. They're symbolic. No, the gods and goddesses are real. The angels are real. Bodhisattvas are real beings. They're not just something symbolic. They are beings who are as real as we are. We can experience them. They have their own personalities. They have their own free will, etc. They're like us, just much more spiritually advanced. So we can indeed experience these beings in meditation. And when we do, it's always wonderful, And as I always tell people, this is why you always want to have your meditation be something that is positive, where you're focusing on good. You're focusing on good beings. But ultimately, of course, you want to experience God, I mean, any good being is good to meet. If you meet a good human, it's always wonderful. What to speak of higher beings, an angel or something. It's always nice. But ultimately, we want to know God, who is the source of all beings, the source of all gods, goddesses, bodhisattvas, angels, whatever you want to call these higher beings. God is the source of everything. And this is why ultimately we want to experience God and have that divine vision of God.
Wonderful. Oh, okay. Nice question from Alexi again. Should we teach our children to do meditation from a very young age, or should they decide this for themselves when they grow up? So what's your advice about children and meditation?
Sure. Yeah, that is a very practical, important question, actually, because, so many of us have children. It is important to teach our children meditation, starting from when they're young. Of course, when that is will vary from child to child. On average, I would say, let's say somewhere between the ages of 6 and 8 would be a nice time to teach meditation. Again, people are all different. Some children can learn earlier, some will take a little bit later. As far as giving them choice in this matter, let me just say this. They shouldn't be forced to do meditation, but at the same time, there's so many good things that we don't give them a choice in. We don't give them a choice to run across the street unattended. We don't give them a choice. I don't want to go to school. Oh, all right, that's your choice. No, we understand if there's something good and positive and healthy for them, then we encourage them to do that. It's not a matter of forcing them. It's a matter of encouraging.
Yeah.
If you know that, my child wants to eat nothing but candy instead of vegetables. We're not going to allow that if we love our child. We're not going to just say, well, it's your choice. Yes, just eat nothing but candy for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Right, exactly.
The child would love that, but we're not going to let them do that. Yes, it's not a matter of forcing. It's a matter of this is something that's healthy for the child. When they are ready, then we do our best to teach them and encourage them. And if at some point as they're older, if they then truly do have a choice because now they're a teenager or a mature adult, they can stop whenever they want. But we should always encourage our children to do that which is good for them.
Yes, indeed. We've had this discussion again with other topics, and I 100% agree about this. That I think too many modern parents have this. I don't know, this fear that they're, or this idea that, the child always has to be happy with everything. I can't tell them to do something if they're not going to like it. Like this comment has come up with, say, as we've discussed, screens, and I've mentioned, that you can't just let your child watch all this junk, this TV and things, and then people say, well, what if they get upset and because they're other friends? And ultimately, my answer is, well, so what? You're the parent, and sometimes we have to be the leaders, and that is part of our job. And as you said, it's our job to lead and by example and to teach them how to live a good life and a virtuous life. And I would think meditation is definitely part of that.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And in fact, let me make a small statement on what you just said. The problem today is not something that arises from children. It arises from weak adults. That is the problem. And when we see kids having, by the millions, so many problems, and we do, especially in the West, especially in America, Europe, kids have so many problems. It is mind-boggling. They have no meaning in life. They are disrespectful. They can't focus, and on and on and on. They end up very young today, especially in America, on drugs and alcohol when they're 13, 14 years old.
Yep.
The reason why this is the case is not so much just them and they're making wrong choices. It's because, again, the parents are not strong enough to lead their children. But this begs the question, why are the parents not strong enough to lead their children and to make their children strong? Because the parents themselves are brainwashed, because they've been told, see, where does this idea come from? Oh, just allow your child to do anything they want. Oh, if they get even slightly upset or they disagree, just back off and let them do anything. Where do these messages come from?
Yeah.
The usual suspects. They come from an evil media system, they come from the educational system, all of which are designed to destroy the family.
Yeah.
Number one, this is a very good way of destroying the family. How do you destroy a family? You take away the strong guiding element of that family. You take away the parents. You take away their power to raise their children in the right way. And let there be no mistake about this. This globalist order that they attempted to create, and they were very successful at, but which I believe is crumbling now due to many people, including people like you, these people want to destroy the family because the family structure is an institution that they recognize as their greatest enemy. It's an alternative to their power structure. These evil globalists, New World Order, whatever you want to call these people, this elite, this cabal, who are the source of evil. What do they want? They want every human being on earth to surrender to them.
Yes.
Well, here is an alternative and healthy institution called the family. These evil people see the family as a threat. Thus, they've done everything to try to destroy this sacred institution of the family. They try to undermine it. They try to split families apart, So this is one message that they've given people, that they've brainwashed people into believing and into acting upon, that they know will destroy the family, and that is be a weak parent. In all the messages that we get, that's what we're told. Be weak, be weak. Let your kid do what they want. Let your kid do what they want. And that ends up destroying the family. It ends up destroying the parents. It ends up destroying the children. And that's what they want. So this is what I would say to any parent out there who wants to truly be a real parent and who truly loves their children. Be strong. Don't listen to these messages. Be a strong example for your child. Guide your child. Tell your child, yes, what is right and what is wrong. Tell your child what to do in order to benefit him or herself. And don't be afraid. Lose that fear. Again, ma shuchaha. Do not fear. Lose that fear that, but my child is going to be unhappy for 3 minutes.
Right.
No, get over that hurdle. Get over the next 3 minutes. Don't worry about your child disagreeing with you for 3 minutes. Get over that hurdle, and the child will see that you are strong, that you mean what you're saying. The child will, in time, pretty quickly understand, yes, this is in my own best interest, and the child will do the right thing and will be happy as a result.
Yes.
So don't be afraid to be strong, to be not abusive. No. Again, you don't want to force. But you want to be yourself a strong example that, no, there is right, there is wrong. In our family, we do what is right.
Yeah, excellent. Yes. And, your comment about the destruction of the family, again, with Brave New World, that is a central idea, which we have already seen. We're, I think, on chapter 5. But families are completely destroyed. And as we've been talking about, Brave New World is, Aldous Huxley sharing with the world what the plan is. And of course, when he wrote it 80 years ago, it was the plan. Now it's reality. As we constantly saying, we live in Brave New World. I mean, there's maybe some sci-fi futuristic elements to it, but overall, we are living in it now. The destruction of the family, the use of drugs to dumb down and distract, the use of media to distract, the use of sensory pleasure addictions to enslave people. I mean, this is the world we live in now. I know this is going to be probably our next big topic in our next interview, I think, but it's hard not to get into it.
No, we are living in the Brave New World. It's true.
Yes, indeed. All right, we'll go. Do you have time for just 2 more questions, and then
Absolutely.
We'll wrap it up? Okay, great. Okay, no, here's I'd say this is kind of a common one, a common concern I've seen about meditation. Can we be probably related to the hypnosis, I'm guessing. So Lisa says, can we call meditation a changed state of consciousness, and can we be influenced by others in this state?
Good question. And this is the answer. In authentic meditation, no, it's nothing like hypnosis, and we cannot be influenced by anyone outside of ourselves and that meditative experience. No, when a person is doing actual meditation, again, we are focusing our awareness completely upon God. Now, there are forms of fraudulent meditation, made up meditation, where, of course, you can be influenced by people. So you yourself, you mentioned like visualization, for example, where you're just kind of imagining things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that, which, again, is more new agey. That's something where someone can possibly influence you, and that's why we don't do such meditations.
Right.
You know, because when you are doing a visualization and someone outside you is guiding you, well, what you're going to experience is now dependent on that person.
Yeah.
If you're lucky and that's a good person and they themselves are truly, legitimately spiritual, well, it can be a nice experience. But what if that person isn't? What if that person themselves are just completely warped and they have malicious intent, etc.? Well, they'll lead you in a guided meditation, so-called meditation, to wherever they want. So this is why you'll notice that when I described very, very clearly what meditation is, there's no one else involved. It's you and God. Period. Period. That's meditation. In fact, that's a nice nutshell statement. If you want to know what real meditation is versus not, with real meditation, the only persons involved are you and God. Period. And then no external malicious force.
So there's nothing to fear from that.
Yeah, just you and God.
Okay, our last one. Who will get the last one? Okay, Ibrahim Ali. Why not? Ibrahim Ali, one of our long-time listeners here, watchers. Can meditation help change our mindset, our way of thinking to a better way? So I guess, influencing our attitudes, our mindsets, and throughout our life. And I guess maybe this, I'm going to add this to the question. How does meditation practice sort of, again, like reverberate through our life when we're not in meditation? So let's say we're meditating 30 minutes a day or an hour a day. Well, what about the other 23 hours a day? What's the effect of meditation on the rest of our life when we're not actually sitting there?
Yeah, certainly. Well, first of all, yes, meditation can indeed improve our mindset, because we all have one. We all have a mindset, and that mindset is produced from all sorts of influences. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but the media and education and whatever specific culture that we're in, and our ways of doing things, and even our family can be sometimes often a positive influence on us. But today, with the broken family, sometimes it's even a negative influence. Yeah. Because again, even family, has gone through a lot of trials and tribulations. So we all have a mindset. And what meditation certainly can do and does do is it improves that mindset. So again, what it helps us to do is to clarify what is reality versus not reality. So a lot of us carry a lot of lies within us about what is the nature of our world, what is the nature of reality of ourselves, etc. Through meditation, what ends up happening is we end up experiencing truth in a very vivid way that, yes, makes us become more positive. So like we were talking about depression before, depression starts to go away. We begin to think more positively about ourselves, about the world around us. We begin to lose fear. So now we are losing the fear of questioning what's happening around us, etc. And I can go very deep. I mean, you can see certainly our mindset is improved very much through meditation.